And that segues real well into what we were talking about offline of now, specifically in mixed martial arts, you have three big organizations. You have the UFC, Bellator, and one championship. And the interesting response, and something I like to compare, is one to UFC because it's an American organization. How, because we also want to talk about quickly about fighter paying contracts and stuff with John
Ooh,
Jones and
yeah.
all that. But the difference between the UFC's approach to letting their fighters talk and how the brass has responded, compare that to football, and then also what one championship's response has been to the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah, that's crazy because Chaudhry, the owner of one championship, he said that he's not a political person, but he had to say something, because
Yeah,
his platform, his whole MMA platform is all about these are pillars of the
heroes.
communities. These are heroes. These are superheroes. Yeah. And I believe that if it's not in the contract, it's encouraged for them to do community service. All the
Mm-hmm.
fighters are out in the community. They're out there. They're doing stuff. So that's his platform. So when something happens in the community, he steps up. The UFC model is action for money,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not ashamed about that. Blood money, what people call it, fighting for money, prize fighting. And then and we can talk all about Dana White and all this stuff in the business of it. Yeah, but as far as the difference between the two, it's like some organizations are leaning more towards the human side, other people leaning more towards the spectacle side. But the question is, the judge asks you, Dana White, he's making money, he's making it sport big. All these other corporations have tried to do it the right way and failed. They just, they try to pay fighters more. They try to market the fighters differently, and they fail. So is what he's doing wrong because it's working?
Yeah, I mean, it goes. If he failed, there'd be a lot less people. There'd be a lot of fighters without a platform. And Dana White said, part of being a fighter is having a platform. And you saw in the NFL, like with Colin Kaepernick, when he wanted to use his platform to advocate for something, they blackballed him and shut him down. Whereas he doesn't. I've never, for whatever disagreements I have with Dana White on certain issues, I've never seen him come down on a fighter for voicing their opinion about a political matter. Now, Dana White is a big Trump supporter, so support of a more liberal movement might not be in his business interests or his political interests, whatever those might be. Whereas, like you stated, one championship, this whole idea they build storylines, we're building champions. Everyone's a champion there. And they're champions in how they act in the community. So they put out, this great, I guess, challenge videos, whatever the hell they're called on Instagram now. The kids and their goddamn internet. But it's a compilation thing. So, and with ONE FC supports Black Lives Matters. They firmly put their foot in the ground and took a stand, which is a risk.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be people who watch. I have conservative friends who are like they may not necessarily be behind 100% of what Black Lives Matter, or and then you get the whole segment of people. I just want to be entertained.
Yeah.
So,
I know it's tricky, but I think that in good faith, you wanna stand on the right side of history. In the future, you wanna be okay. I did things the right things. This was an example. I can live with myself at night. I mean, a lot of people sleep good on their pile of money. They stick their money bags in their pillowcase and they sleep on that joint at night. But when you're old at the end of your life, when you're in a deathbed, you want to know that you actually made a change, and that's a cause for sacrifice. I'm not saying that the UFC and Dana White doesn't sacrifice. They help people all the time, but the country, the world is in a state right now, and to not acknowledge it or then to not actually put a foot in the game and to consider yourself a pillar of the community, because they are. UFC is a pillar of the community. So,
yeah.
So to consider yourself a pillar of the community, you're going to have to put your neck on the chopping block sometimes,
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you said. At the end of the day, and what people, and for anyone listening, I'm not saying Black Lives Matter, you have to be successful for this. A movement can be a failure and still be legit. You want to be able to say, listen, I did what I thought was the morally right thing to do. Because there's no price you can put on that. $1.5 million for anyone listening for me. But no, but there really isn't.